go through the phone, because you have more impactful face-to-face when you're belly to belly and eye to eye. You can break through the barriers that you can run into over the phone. But if you can't do door knocking, then open houses are a great way to do it. And you don't have to just do them on weekends. You can do them during the week. You can. I know inventory is low. There might be some agents in your market center that you can sit open houses for, or even for sale by owners. Why not do open houses for sale by owners? Anywhere to be in the middle of the cash flow where buyers and sellers hang out is going to give you an opportunity to add to that database, like you said, and to get them in your network and to follow up with people and build relationships. Make sense? Great. Anybody else? Tell me something good. Let's create some energy and momentum. Hi, Jan. Nice to see you. Thanks for being on camera. I appreciate it.
I forgot I didn't have mute off.
Okay.
The only thing I'm saying is buyers are still coming out of the woodwork and they are a challenge to work with.
Yes.
However, you can find them if you turn over every stone. And I did the looking at expireds and temporarily off markets.
Did it work for you?
It did. We ended up not buying one of those, but at least we were still out looking, and she knew that I was turning over every stone.
Well, that's right. And that's really all you can do is commit to what you're going to do, right? And if you commit to doing more than what most other people are willing to do, that's going to create benefits, and it's going to assure them that no stone is being left unturned.
Yep.
Most agents just wait for the MLS to supply them with inventory and bring their buyer to that new listing that just came on the market. But all of a sudden, there's 10 or 15 or 20 other agents taking their buyers to the same property, which is the world that we live in right now. Mm-hmm. So doing things strategically that are different, that might take a little bit more time, can pay significant dividends. And one of them is calling old expireds, or researching old expireds and withdrawns with the same criteria that you're searching active listings for your buyers. Right? Are you doing anything else strategically to try to give your buyers an advantage in the marketplace besides searching old expireds or expireds and withdrawns?
I talked to the listing agents of houses we've already seen that supposedly, quote unquote, went under contract.
Right.
And that's actually the house we ended up buying had been under contract as of a Friday. And as of Monday, it was back on. I called her on Sunday and she said, you should know first thing in the morning on Monday, and this is the one we are now buying. So just because it's under contract with buyer number 1 or buyer number 2, we ended up being the winning buyer number 3.
That's great. That's a greit's strategy. It's about never giving up, especially if it's a property your buyer really has in consideration.
She loved that house.
Right. Always follow up with that listing agent to make sure the property is still under contract, or even go in a backup position if they're willing to take them, so no one else comes in there before you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's another great strategy to pursue. What else do you think? Is anybody else doing anything to try to give their buyers an advantage in this competitive market for buyers? Besides,
hi Gary, it's Chris.
Hi Chris.
How are you?
Great to hear you.
Good. Yeah, handwriting note cards, and not like an 8x11 letter, but an actual note card, so it looks like it's a card that comes from someone. Just saying, hey, I've got these buyers, so and so and so and so. This is what they're looking for. Your property is perfect. They love your neighborhood. Are you interested in selling? With a couple of business cards, hand delivering, handwriting, bright envelope on the outside so it doesn't get tossed into the recycling bin right away.
Great.
So
it's great. That's a great strategy. Like the handwritten personal note to sellers in a neighborhood, potential sellers in a neighborhood that might be interested in selling their property to a specific buyer that you have that you're representing.
Right.
That's awesome. That's great. That's a spin on just a normal letter. And that's a great idea. Thanks for sharing it. It's a
Yep.
great idea. Anybody else? It takes strategic thinking in this marketplace to give your buyers an advantage. And in the process of working for buyers, you can also locate listing opportunities. The house may not work for the buyer that you secure an opportunity for, but people will be impressed that you went above and beyond, and they may consider working with you exclusively to help them sell their properties too. So when whatever you have plenty of, you want to market to the marketplace to help you find what if you have a lot of buyers, you want to market your buyers' needs to see if you can get sellers to raise their hand. And that's the market that we're in right now. I mean, in a seller's market, well, we always market listings, right? Because they generate buyers. Why wouldn't buyers generate listings? Does that make sense? Okay, I can see all those pictures nodding, so I think they're nodding in agreement, Tamara. Would you agree? Okay, I hope so. All right, anybody else have any other ideas to try to minimize your buyers' frustration in writing offers and losing, and minimizing your frustration and loss of time by writing offers and losing? Okay, what else? Anybody else have anything to share as far as tell me something good or things that you're excited about, or even something you might have learned in all the classes you've been attending that you'd like to share?
I will share. I have I guess, a comment to add, Gary. I really appreciate the training that we've gotten on escalation clauses, as I was up against 12 other bids this past weekend and won with our escalation clause.
Congratulations, that's great. Yes, those are definitely a tool to use in your arsenal in this competitive environment. You want to have that, you want to know about those things, and you want to be able to give your buyer the best chance of winning.
Well, and not all realtors, and I think this is important to know, not all realtors know how to use an escalation clause, are using the escalation clause, and some brokerages are saying that they cannot use the escalation clause. I was told that this past weekend as well.
Well, I'd like to hear why not.
I would too.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, I lost a property actually to that agent, but she had the listing and she said her brokerage specifically doesn't allow escalation clauses.
But I want to talk to that broker, because it doesn't sound like it's. I don't see any reason why an escalation clause, when done properly, isn't in the best interest of the buyer and the seller. Because it gets the seller the most money if money is what they're looking for.
Agreed.
Yeah, for sure. So in the one that you won, give us a little, if you wouldn't mind, give us a little rundown of the events as they happened, briefly, as far as the counter offers and the offers. Were you going up against other people?
I was going up against 12 other bids. So it was multiple contracts. And what ended up happening was I worked with the lender to get the waiver on the appraisal. So the buyers have very good credit in place. So they were able to get an appraisal waiver. And should that appraisal waiver not be still active during the process for some reason, then I guess the lender can change their mind at some point. Then we agreed that we would pay up to $21,000 over the appraisal. And if it was more than that, then we would go back to negotiations.
Right. So what were the increments that it would go up by?
I did $1,004.
Okay, so you're going to beat whatever offer came in, that whatever the highest offer was that would come in, that could come in. Your buyer would beat it by $1,004 up to $21,000 above their initial offer, correct?
Well, no, it was up to,
Up to a certain price.
yeah, but it also included that they would pay 21,000 over an appraised value.
Oh, okay. So in other words, if the property didn't appraise, that wouldn't be a condition that would cause the deal to fall apart. They would be willing to pay a certain amount above the appraised value, 21,000 above the appraised value, if that should happen, to guarantee the seller that they were a solid buyer and willing to go the extra mile in order to get the property. Correct?
Yes.
Great, great. Yes. That's what an escalation clause is. It basically means that the buyer is willing to pay a certain amount above their initial offer in increments above whatever existing offer is on the table at that time. And you do have to have that provision. You could, have a conversation with your buyers about putting that provision in case the property doesn't appraise, and let them know that that's a risk that they take if the property doesn't appraise, that they have the willingness to pay the cash amount above what the appraised value would be in order to secure the property. So it's worthwhile for the seller to take their property off the market for this buyer. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Oh, thank you for letting me see your beautiful face. I appreciate it. Thank you for going on the camera. Great,
Very
great.
kind.
It's easier to talk to someone face to face than it is looking at a name or a picture, but thank you. Thank you. That's great. Thanks for sharing, Karen. Appreciate it. Good work. Awesome. Great.
Gary, I have a question about what Carly came up with here.
Yeah.
The broker telling her, or the agent telling her, that the broker doesn't accept escalation clauses.
Yeah.
So
If a customer tells an agent to do something, we are obligated to do it, right?
Yeah. Yes, we are.
Is
That's
that where?
That's why I said I'd like to have a conversation with that broker, because that's not a sound philosophy ethically either.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I don't believe it is. Yeah. It sounds to me like it's just a scenario to blow you off so they could get another offer in, really, is what it sounds like. That's not legitimate. That's not a legitimate thought.
well, and to be
that
clear, this is two different offers on two separate houses. So the first one I lost with the agent that said that, and then we moved on to a different property and I won that one. But I'm curious to watch this because I did look in, I believe, how do I say it? I'm just curious how it rolls out, because I know that agent takes double sides on a lot of deals. So I'm curious.
See, that's the first thing that came to my mind too. You don't want to be accusatory, but it doesn't sound like somebody that won't consider an escalation clause, which are perfectly legitimate. Now, I know you have to watch out for certain things to protect your client in the middle of this, like that the deal's going to have more, like you secure the deal by making sure that if it doesn't appraise, that your client is aware of it and their client is aware of it, and you have an agreement of some kind. But there's no reason that there's a problem with escalation clauses.
Right.
I have a question.
A bid.
In a case like Carly, could she have reached out to you and presented the situation so you could talk to that other broker and figure things out and maybe get her offer accepted?
Well, that would be something that you can call Howard and let him know when another broker does that, and Howard would be happy to have a conversation with that broker. No question about that. That's why we have brokers for. I mean, it makes no sense that an escalation clause should not receive as much consideration as any other offer on the table. In fact, I don't know why you wouldn't receive it more. All it shows is your buyer wants the property and wants to give themselves the best chance of paying the seller more money.
Yeah, I think they ended up taking a cash offer, even though it wasn't as high as our offer. By quite a bit.
Some sellers don't want any, in some situations, sellers are it's not all about the money, it's about the security,
Mhm.
you know, and not having a mortgage contingency shows some serious to some sellers more than others, right? So that could be. I don't have a problem with that. I just have a problem with somebody blatantly saying that escalation clauses, our broker doesn't allow them to be considered because they're offers they need to be presented. You know.
Well, I think they could have been considered. She's not able to use them herself out of her brokerage.
Oh, well, that's so she can receive them, but she can't give them.
Right. She can't write them.
Oh, she can't write them. Well, that shouldn't have affected your offer then on her listing.
I'm not sure she was aware of how to use it, maybe.
Probably not.
I'm
It's
speculating.
it's probably more of an probably more of an education issue. And that's what you have to be aware of with co-op agents. Unfortunately, there's a lot of agents that need some education through the process. When you do that respectfully and diplomatically, you can win. You can find a win-win opportunity. So I'm sorry the first one didn't work out, but congratulations on the second one working out. It's great. Yeah, escalation clauses are definitely a tool you want to consider when you know there's going to be competition with other properties, and it's something that we need to learn about and educate our buyers about. So let's see if they want you to use it in their offer to a potential seller in this environment. Right? Makes sense?
Mhm.
Okay. What else? Tell me something good. What else? Or what did you learn in the last 30, 60 days? Okay, let's jump into the material, Tamara. Thank you. All right. On the road to success, there are no shortcuts. You want to learn a little something about that? Great, great, great. Here we go. If you keep too busy learning the tricks of the trade, you may never learn to trade. In his book, John Wooden, A Lifetime of Observations On and Off the Court, he was a famous college basketball coach. With Steve Jamison, Coach explained on this important idea. There are no shortcuts. If you're working on finding a shortcut the easy way, you're not working hard enough on the fundamentals. You get away with it for a spell, but there's no substitute for the basics. And the first basic is good old-fashioned work. There is an expression, I want to work smart, not hard, Coach Wooden would say. I want you to work smart. I want to work smart and hard. When Coach refers to not keeping too busy to learn the tricks of the trade, he's not in any way suggesting we shouldn't consistently try to improve our production processes. His success was based on two simple ideas. Failure to prepare is preparing to fail, number one. And number two, don't mistake activity for achievement. Okay. Coach Wooden's basketball practices were limited to 2 hours a day, a shorter time than many of his peers. His shorter practice time was not intended to be a trick or a shortcut to success. The amount of time was based on maximum efficiency and a consistent peak effort from all involved. There were no tricks. This was just smart and hard work. Coach Wooden and his staff spent 2 hours every day meticulously planning those 2-hour practices. In his 28th season at UCLA, he was still spending the same 2 hours planning a 2-hour practice that was structurally very similar to the practices he had run in the past. Coach was refining his trade with an eye on constant improvement. No trick, no shortcut. Coach felt that if you took shortcuts, you would not develop the skills within you required to reach your potential in your chosen field. Now, interesting, they brought up a sales analogy. If a sales process has 5 fundamental steps and you skip 3 of them because you feel you don't need them to get the sale at one time, you're not developing your ability to effectively deliver all 5 steps when you need them. As Coach said, you may get away with it for a spell, but there's no substitute for basics. Any thoughts or ahas?
Yeah, I think that's pretty insightful. Because it's not just saying that it's saying even if you're trying to work more efficient, you should still be putting 100% effort into it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. couple of things really, struck home for me. Number one is don't mistake activity for achievement. Okay. It's not about how much time that you're at work. It's about what you're putting into the time. Okay. And what are you doing the highest dollar productive activities to build your business effectively? Okay. That's one thought that came to mind. The other thing about the sales process, I'm thinking about a listing consultation and the buyer consultation. I know the times where I shortcut my listing process on a listing appointment is when the greatest challenges came up from the listing taken through the contract, from the contract to the closing. Because when you shortcut the process, all the education that's involved doesn't necessarily happen as it should. So, but when you follow your process, and you go through it and you prepare them for what is to come, our job is to prepare people for what is to come. And when you do a good job of it, things kind of seem to flow more smoothly. Or when challenges come up, you work through them more easily. But when you just, shortcut the process to the point that you just list it, or you just, work with the buyer without doing any preliminary work with them and preparing them for what is to come, usually challenges arise in the relationship after you start to work together. So that's my input to you. Whatever, Nikki teaches Lift Your Buyers for Success. I teach Lift Your Way to Success. We have Win with Sellers. There's processes involved. Whenever you establish a process, don't shortcut it. Honor it. Do it the same way every time. Don't skip steps. Even if they want to sign paperwork now, but go back and go through the steps at the appropriate times, because the preparation for what is to come is key. And it's a key at not only building the relationship, but keeping it for a long time. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Anybody else? Any thoughts on that article? Okay, let's talk about money. Are you guys interested in money habits that separate the rich from the poor?
I absolutely
Rather
am,
be rich or poor?
Rich.
Okay. This is from Jim Rohn. Here's an exciting thought. Why not work full-time on your job and part-time on your fortune? And what a feeling you'll have when you can honestly say,
Baby, come on, here.
I'm working to become wealthy. I'm not just working to pay my bills. When you have a wealth plan, you'll be so motivated that you'll have a hard time going to bed at night because you'll be excited. So if you will indulge me, I would like to share a simple formula for creating wealth. Here's my thought on how money should be allocated. Jim Rohn calls it the 70-30 rule. Now, this is the 70-30 rule after you pay your fair share of taxes. Learn to live on 70% of your after-tax income. Now, for us, we're not employees. We're self-employed, right? So our gross money doesn't include taxes being paid. So you need to take money out for taxes also, right? So after you take money out for taxes, then live on 70% of that balance. These are the necessities and luxuries you spend money on. Then it's important to look at how you allocate your remaining 30%. Let's allocate it in the following ways. What's first? Interesting, huh? Charity.
Charity.
Of the 30% not spent, 1/3 should go to charity. Or in other words, 10%, right? Charity is the act of giving back to the community and helping those who need assistance. I believe that contributing 10% of your after-tax income is a good amount to strive for. The act of giving should be taught early when the amounts are small. It's pretty easy to take a dime out of a dollar, but it's considerably harder to give away $100,000 out of $1 million. You say, well, if I had $1 million, I'd have no trouble giving 100,000. I'm not so sure. 100,000 is a lot of money. Start early so you'll develop the habit before the big money comes your way. And let me share something with you. If you start that habit, if it can't be 10%, whatever you can, 1%, 2%, 3%, whatever you can until you build up to 10%, you start that habit, you'll get to 1 million or more faster. Because what you give out in slices comes back in loaves. Does that make sense? It's biblical. Next, capital investment. With the next 10% of your after-tax income, you're going to create wealth. This is money you'll use to buy, fix, manufacture, or sell, or buy real estate. The key is to engage in commerce, even if only on a part-time basis. So how do you go about creating wealth? There's lots of ways. Let your imagination roam. Take a close look at those skills you developed at work or through your hobbies. You may be able to convert these into a profitable enterprise. In addition, you can also learn to buy a product at wholesale and sell it for retail, or you can purchase a piece of property and improve it. Use this 10% to purchase your equipment, products, or equity to get started. There's no telling what genius is inside of you, waiting to be awakened by the spark of opportunity. For me, and for hopefully probably a lot of you, it's real estate. You know, real estate with all the leverage that comes with it, the tax benefits, and renting out real estate where people are paying your mortgage payment and you're accumulating equity annually is an unbelievable opportunity to build wealth and to grow your net worth. And then savings. The last 10% should be put in savings. I consider this to be one of the most exciting parts of your wealth plan because it can offer you peace of mind by preparing you for the winters of life. Let me give you the definition of rich and poor. Poor people spend their money and save what's left. Rich people save their money and spend what's left. 20 years ago, two people each earned $1,000 a month, and they each earned the same increases over the years. One had the philosophy of spending money and saving what's left. The other had the philosophy of saving first and spending what's left. Today, if you knew both, you'd call one poor and the other wealthy. So remember that giving, investing, and saving, like any form of discipline, has a subtle effect. At the end of the day, the week, the month, the results are hardly noticeable. But let 5 years lapse and the differences become pronounced. At the end of 10 years, the differences are dramatic. And it all starts with the same amount of money, just a different philosophy. Does that make sense? Anybody have any thoughts on that? Any ahas? Two commodities that you really are the most important things to be intentional about. Be intentional with your time. Be intentional with your money. Have plans and strategies that are simple, but something that's going to be consistent. Consistent. That's the key. If you're automatically putting a certain amount of money away from every bit of income that comes in, you're building a nest egg for the future. But if you're constantly using up all the money that you put in the bank because you don't have a system, you really haven't thought about it, then you're going to keep winding up in the same place, and you're going to feel like you're on a treadmill with no end in sight. Does that make sense? And when you start developing these automatic plans of consistency, putting money in different places, you can set it up automatically. You can have certain pieces of your income go to certain accounts, automatically from your commissions that are, or even from bank accounts. You could have different bank accounts where you have money being moved from one to another automatically. Whatever it is, just keep it simple. And even if it can't be 10%, start with something and let it grow. Just develop the discipline and the habit, and it'll be amazing things to happen. Same thing with your time. It's important that you understand what the most important use of your time is at any given moment of the day. When you get better at identifying that, your dollar per hour value will skyrocket. Plain and simple. Any thoughts, any ahas, any questions?
I'll raise my hand.
Okay, Jan.
There was a time when we were thinking of putting some money in a different bucket.
Uh-huh,
And when you first think about that, oh, I've got to have like $10,000 to do this.
right,
And we finally said, we got to stop thinking that way. We got to just start. And what you were saying before, just start with whatever amount you can pull out of your commission check and
Right.
start it and put it someplace else. And we did. And yeah, we're looking at a little chunk of change now after 2 years. After 2 years, it doesn't happen the next month.
right, right.
But, you know, we had limited ourselves by our own thinking that we have to have this big bucket
Right,
and start big. No, big comes from small.
right.
Lots of smalls, consistent.
That's right. It's about consistency. It's about automatic. It's about following a plan and not deviating from that plan. And it takes discipline. Okay. And a lot of people aren't disciplined with their money. You know, money has rules and you don't get to keep it if you don't follow. Plain and simple. Any other thoughts on that? Okay, you guys ready for some good news?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
More good news. Will low mortgage rates continue through 2021? Yes, let's look at the graph. Look what they were in 2018. Now they've already gone up a little bit. I mean, they were down in the twos, right? The end of last year, 2.8, 2.9. They've come up a little bit above 3, but for, you know, they expected them to be in the low 3s, which isn't a bad thought, right? The
Yeah,
average
not at all.
The average 30-year fixed rate mortgage hit a record low over a dozen times in 2020, and the low interest rate environment is projected to continue throughout this year. We expect interest rates to average below 3% through the end of 2021. While this is a modest rise from 2020 averages, the recent vote by the Federal Reserve to keep interest rates anchored near zero should keep rates low. Okay, well, they've already gone above 3%, right? So this article was written on February 18th. But here's what the projections are on the next page. Each of the experts are predicting, okay? This is still a wonderful environment. Bottom may have hit, but still this is an unbelievable environment for buyers to have the opportunity to buy a property in this market. Still will keep affordability at some of the lowest levels in our history. There it is. What does this mean for buyers? Low mortgage rates are creating an outstanding opportunity for current home buyers to get more for their money while staying within their budget. Plain and simple. Okay. And bottom line, if you're ready to buy, it may be wise to make your move before mortgage rates begin to rise. Let's connect to discuss how today's low interest rates can create more opportunities for you this year. The environment right now for buyers is amazing, as well as it is for sellers. That's what's driving one of the things that's driving our real estate environment right now. Any thoughts, questions? Next article. Home prices. What happened in 2020 and what will happen this year? House prices nationwide recorded the largest annual quarterly increase in the history of the FHFA home price index. Low mortgage rates, pent-up demand from home buyers, and a limited housing supply propelled every region of the country to experience faster growth in 2020 compared to a year ago, despite the pandemic. And there we see in red, FHFA report says home price appreciation numbers, values went up 10.8% last year. CoreLogic said home prices went up 9.2%. S&P Case-Shiller said 10.4%. That's a significant amount of appreciation. According to NAR, a typical homeowner in 2020, just by being a homeowner, would have accumulated around $24,000 in housing wealth. You know, think about that for a second. Any of you have any buyers that were on the fence last year, but whether they should buy or not? Well, being on the fence cost them $24,000. That's a pretty expensive fence. So what will happen to home prices this year? There's what the experts predict. Some think that it's going to soften a little bit. Some believe listings will come on the market more readily this year once more people are vaccinated and they're less afraid to have people coming through their houses. Hope that's true. That'd be interesting. .9% is the average of all the forecasts for appreciation they're predicting in 2021. So the bottom line is home price appreciation will be strong again this year, but it won't reach the historic levels of 2020. And what I love about these articles, which you can share, by the way, if you become a member of KCM blog, you can share these articles on your social media and to your databases. It always recommends them to talk to you. It always presents the benefits of working with a trusted advisor, which is hopefully what you're trying to be to your database, right? Let's connect if you'd like to find out what your house is currently worth in our local market. Okay. Any thoughts, questions, ahas? Okay, next camera. Where have all the houses gone? With active, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mason.
I imagine that, I mean, it's not that the houses are gone. It's just, like you said before, a lot of people are scared to have people in their houses. Even now, I know I was in a meeting the other day where they were talking about a lot of sellers not wanting to do open houses because they're afraid of the, COVID and stuff like that. So hopefully, like you said, when we get more vaccinations out and stuff, people would be more willing to list their houses.
Yeah, there's a lot of apprehension. I mean, it's amazing the number of houses are still selling. Record-breaking numbers every month throughout the country, but even especially in our boards. I mean, right now the data is going to reveal that more houses are selling per month than active listings. So that means that that means the absorption rate is above 100% in some cases. And when the absorption rate is above 100%, that means more houses selling than active listings. That means the month's supply of inventory is less than 1. Okay, which is a very strong and intense seller market. So here's what the experts are saying. With buyers active in the market and seller participation lagging, homes are selling quickly, and the total number available for sale at any point in time continues to drop lower. In January as a whole, the number for sale properties dropped below 600,000. Okay, and you can see state by state the percentage of inventory drop year over year. Okay. And our numbers are pretty high. Locally, they're higher than the average in Florida of 39.2%, which we'll get to in a few minutes. Next page. Does this mean houses aren't being put on the market for sale? It doesn't necessarily mean that. It just means that there are fewer existing homes being listed right now. Many homes are simply selling faster than they're being counted as current inventory. Okay, the market is that competitive. It's like when everyone was trying to find toilet paper to buy last spring, it was flying off the shelves faster than it could be stocked in the stores. That's what's happening in the housing market. Homes are being listed for sale, but not at a rate that can keep up with the heavy demand from competitive buyers. Okay.
So what exactly is causing such high demand if it's not necessarily an inventory problem?
I think that a lot of people are moving down here from states that are locked down. Okay, then you see
Makes
it
sense.
already. I think you see more traffic this year than the typical, snowbirds. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure.
Are you feeling the same thing?
Yeah.
So I'm definitely seeing that, and I think the fear of having strangers come through your house is and COVID is causing people not to put their houses on the market. I think those are the reasons. I think those are some of the reasons. So I mean, inventory doesn't last to be counted as inventory because it's under contract with multiple offers within a few days. So whenever I do my reports, it could have been listed 3 days ago, but the market's so hot because interest rates are so low. Buyers are moving in from out of state. It's an unbelievable time to either buy investment property, to accumulate wealth through real estate, or even to move up or to move down. It's just an incredible opportunity. The likes of which we've never seen in my days. And I've been doing this since 1986. How many of you guys weren't born yet? 1986.
My parents were 4 years old.
Your parents were 4 years old.
Yeah, my dad at least. I think my mom was probably 6.
Okay, all right. There you go.
I'm sorry.
Time on the market was 10 days faster than last year, meaning that buyers still have to make decisions quickly in order to be successful. Well, we all know that. We're living in this world. We know that buyers have to make decisions quickly. And that's why having a consultation with them is so critical.
Hey, Gary, I had a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Do you expect that a lot of the buyers that came down here and bought just to get away from lockdowns will try to move back and sell some or a portion of the properties that were bought down here?
I don't know. I don't know. That's kind of a case-by-case basis, I would think. I think a lot of people in this environment, with over 500,000 people dying from or so they say, from COVID-related, illnesses, I think they want to live their life the way they want to live it. I don't think that if they have any issue with the cold or even any issue with their house or any issue with government in their location up north. I think that's why Florida is so popular. Number one, because the weather is a lot better. And number two, even maybe more of a factor is it's an open state. People can relatively live normally to some degree, and that's for some people. Other people don't like that, but you can tell by the amount of people coming down here. I think even people in California, where the weather is nice, have moved to Florida because California is still in lockdown. One of our fellow realtors was I forget who it was that said that where they weren't able to go out to dinner in a restaurant for months and months and months. It's disheartening. So we're very fortunate to be in Florida, in my humble opinion. And I think a lot of people are seeing it that way, and they want to experience this too. Yeah. If they have a good experience when they buy down here, I think they'll stay. And I think they'll buy more. The other thing is most states have state taxes, and Florida is not only is a paradise, but there's no state income tax. Okay, so I think that's great at attracting top people. Right, exactly. So the good news for homeowners. Some people will feel comfortable listing their home during the first half of 21. Others will want to wait till the vaccines are widely distributed. So they're predicting that more homeowners will be on the market as we go throughout the year. That would be a great thing. it'll, you know, because there's still plenty of room for inventory. I mean, we've never experienced a 1 month supply overall in a marketplace before, not in my 30 something years and 35 years in real estate. Wow, it is 35 years. I can't believe it. So bottom line, today's housing market's a big win for sellers, but these conditions won't last forever. If you're in a position to sell your house now, you may not want to wait for your neighbors to do the same. Let's connect to discuss how to sell your house safely so you're able to benefit from today's high demand and low inventory. There you go. Any thoughts, ahas, questions?
Sorry to keep bringing in my, whoopsie. Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, Jan?
Looking at that last sheet about the good news for homeowners and sellers, potential sellers, we've talked about how important it is to talk to our buyers in those pre-consultations. It's just as important with sellers today because they're looking at a completely different market when they get hit with the 12 offers that, you know, she had over last weekend.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a whole new consultation with sellers.
Right. Well, what you want to do, no matter what market you're in, one of the ingredients of your seller's consultation should be role playing an offer. Now, in our market, we want to role play multiple offers, and from what your experiences have been, prepare them for what is to come, so that you can, you know, an educated client is going to make better decisions than one that's uneducated. You know, and they may not remember everything that you role played, but having gone through it once from a role play perspective, you know, in the old days in the buyer's market, we had a role play offers coming in 50,000 less than asking price. Remember, and contracts being thrown in your face because they were emotional because they didn't want to even look at an offer like that, right? Well, now we have to role play multiple offers potentially coming in, and then possibly being ready to move.
Too soon.
Well, right. I mean, being ready to, you know, maybe even being willing to sell their house without having something else yet, for the benefit of having their equity unlocked and to have all their cash, right?
Yep.
They're going to negotiate much better having their equity unlocked and having all the cash from the sale of their property than having a house that's not been listed on the market yet when they're negotiating with other sellers, right? Right. So it's important to have a consultation and prepare them for what is to come. You know, best case, worst case, you know, and go through preparing them for what is to come. Okay. Good. Thanks, Jan. Anybody else? Okay. So we talked about being a great time to sell their house, right? Now, why now? Because more inventory might be coming on later. Even though properties values are going up, you know, you might have more competition in the near term, in the next 6 months, 3 to 6 months. So how smart is it to buy a home today? Well, guess what? Not only is it a great time to sell, but it's a great time to buy. Okay? How can you tell whether it's a good time to buy? Well, there's one category that provides a simple answer. When deciding to buy now or wait until next year, the financial aspect of the money of the purchase is easy to evaluate. You just ask yourself 2 questions. Number one, do I think home values will be higher a year from now? The answer is, according to the experts, yes. Number two, do I think mortgage rates will be higher a year from now? Okay. From a purely financial standpoint, if the answer is yes to either question, you should strongly consider buying now. If the answer to both questions is yes, you should definitely buy now. Okay. Now let's look at why. Let's go down a little bit. Cameron, thank you. So they're going to use an assumption. First, nobody can guarantee what home values and mortgage rates will be by the end of this year. The experts, however, seem certain that the answer to both of the questions above is a resounding yes. Mortgage rates are expected to rise and home values are expected to appreciate rather nicely. So what does this mean? Let's look at how waiting would impact your financial situation. Here's the assumptions that are being made. The experts, using the experts' opinions, saying that they're right. Mortgage rates will be at 3.18% by the end of the year. That's one assumption. The other assumption is home values will appreciate by 5.9%. The other assumption is that you buy a home valued at $350 today. And number 4 is that you decide on the 10% down payment. Let's look at the numbers. So you purchased it today, 350. You purchased it in a year at 5.9% above, it's 370,650. So it's $20,650 more by waiting a year. Your interest rate has gone up from 2.97 up to 3.18. Your down payment has gone up by over $2,000. Your mortgage amount has gone up by over $17,500. Your payment has gone up by $116 a month. Equity gain, that's the big one for me. 0. That's the cost of waiting. Now, what if you've been waiting for 4 years? A $200,000 house 4 years ago is probably worth 280 now. You might have lost 80 grand by not buying 4 years ago. Okay, so there you go. There's the financial impact, and there you can see them. So bottom line, there's many things to consider when buying a home. However, from a purely financial aspect, if you find a home that meets your needs, buying now makes much more sense than buying next year. You sold? You all gonna buy a house this year?
You're definitely making me think, Gary.
Oh yeah. And even if you have one, buy another one.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
You have one, buy another one. Yeah, we can talk about that. Make sure you have enough in reserves. Okay,
Sounds good.
that's it. Prepare for worst case, but it's definitely a buying opportunity. So, next article. How upset should you be about the 3% mortgage rates? Well, if anybody's upset, that's appalling. Just look at the numbers, okay? Look at where they've been. Even if you know they go up to 3.1, what do they predict? 3.18 for the year for 2021. It's still the second lowest on as far as the last 6 years, right? Now, though 3.02 is not as great as sub-3 rates we saw over the previous 7 weeks, it's still very close to an all-time low, 2.66% in December. Now, let's look at the last 50 years. What would happen if our interest rates went to those numbers? Even 8. Like over the last 40 years, the average interest rate has been 8%. Count your blessings. You know, buyers should be counting their blessings. Being upset that you missed the best mortgage rate ever is understandable. However, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Buying now still makes more sense than waiting, especially if rates continue to bump up this year. All right, thoughts, questions, ahas. Keep in mind, every 1% a mortgage jumps, up or down. If it jumps up, the buyers can qualify for 10% less of a mortgage, right? So if they can qualify for a $200,000 mortgage at 3%, the interest rates went up to 4%, they can only qualify for 180. So it means that they might not be able to afford the house that the neighborhood that they thought they want to live in. And that should always help create a sense of urgency when you're talking to buyers that want to wait. Buyers that want to wait are risking the cost of the house going up and the cost of the financing going up. And that's a heavy risk. Any thoughts? Anybody have anything to say, ask, share? Okay, last article before we get to the data. Do you guys understand what the impact of a real estate home sale is to the economy? Do you all understand what business that you're in and how you saved the United States economy last year? Without real estate last year, our economy would have been gone. Let's look at it just briefly. How does the real estate market help the economy? Scroll down a little further. Thank you. Real estate has been and remains the foundation of wealth building for the middle class and a critical link in the flow of goods, services, and income for millions of Americans, accounting for nearly 18% of the gross domestic product. Real estate is clearly a major driver of the U.S. economy. The report calculated a total economic impact of a real estate related industries on the economy, as well as the expenditures that resulted from a single home sale. At a national level, their research revealed that a single newly constructed home had the economic impact of $88,416. That's one single family new construction home had an impact of $88,416 to the local economy. Okay, and here's how it broke down. Income generated from real estate industries, 24.4. Expenditures related to home purchase, 46.50. Multiplier of housing related expenditures, 13,978. The new home construction, 45.3. Total impact, $88,416. That's a major impact, wouldn't you agree? So value what you do and don't let anybody diminish it. If they're diminishing it, they don't understand. They need education. Like sellers that think they don't need you don't have a clue. Buyers that don't think they need you don't have a clue. Don't get mad at them. Educate the ones that are willing to be educated and find the ones that are willing to allow you to help them. And that's what you do every day when you don't have a listing or a buyer to work with, is you hunt for people that are looking for help. And if they don't know they need help, put them in harm's way by asking them questions they won't know the answers to. Respectfully. Okay? Breaking it down a little further.
Like what, Gary? What type of questions would you ask them?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What type of questions would you ask?
What type of questions would I ask as far as who?
To throw them in harm's way, politely.
Well, if it was a for sale by owner, I would ask him a simple question. Let me ask you a question, Mr. and Mrs. for sale by owner. What type of buyers do you think you're going to be attracting? What type of buyers do you think invest the time to look at for sale by owners? And what are you trying to do by trying to for sale by owner instead of hiring a real estate professional that can defend your equity and try to drive your price up as high as possible? See, isn't it true, Mr. and Mrs. for sale by owners, that most buyers that are looking at for sale by owners are buyers that aren't serious and in a hurry most of the time, and they're looking to save the commission. They're looking for a deal, or they may be buyers that may not even be able to qualify and they're buyers that maybe most realtors won't even work with. See, most real estate professionals are working with buyers that are serious in a hurry and willing to pay a fair price for a home. Now, what do you think the best strategy is of driving your price up to the highest price possible? Working with a bunch of buyers that need help buying, or working with a bunch of buyers that are willing to pay a fair price for a home, that are ready, willing, and able? Even if for sale by owner finds a buyer for their home that's willing to pay them a price that's reasonable, what they're missing out on is the opportunity for 20 people competing, willing to pay a price that's more than reasonable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's just an example.
Okay.
A buyer that wants to work on their own without doing a consultation might be missing the opportunity of saving a lot of time and saving a lot of money.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right, thank you.
Okay. One of the things I want you to see, this is state by state, the economic impact of one home sale, okay? In Florida, it's 77,000. That's new home construction. The impact of an existing home sale itself is 40 grand. Every house that sells is a $40,000 economic benefit to the community. So real estate has done more for our economic well-being than virtually any other industry over the last year. It's been a beacon of light during a very challenging time in our nation's history. So there you go. Just wanted to share that with you, just for your own sake. So that in case you're not valuing what you do, value what you do and become better and better at it. Work on your skills, your business skills, and your personal growth every single day. Make that a journey. The better you get at your business skills and your person and you're growing personally, the more value you're bringing to the marketplace, the better questions you'll ask to your clients, the better decisions you'll help your clients make, and your life will be completely different. Not that your life isn't great right now, but it'll be completely more fulfilling, more and more. You'll have more options. Let's put it that way. Does that make sense? No, don't take the shortcuts like John Wooden tries to share with us. You know, be disciplined in your approach. Be systematic in your approach. Grow and learn every single day. Okay, and stay encouraged. No discouragement. There's no time for discouragement. You know, discouragement talks you out of growing. You can't find reasons not to. You got to find reasons how to. You need to make your search for how can I do this stronger than you're beating yourself up and wondering why you can't do it the way you expect yourself to do it. Does that make sense? Improve your self-talk. Improve your belief in yourself. There's no one limiting your opportunity but your own mind. You can build a great life for yourself and help a lot of people along the way. And it's just about learning and growing a little bit every day and adding value to people on a consistent basis, managing your time better, and being intentional and systematic about your approach with your business and with your time and with your money and with your personal life. All that grows. Okay, so let's get to the data. Okay, in Pinellas County, REOs are foreclosures, and our distressed market, which is foreclosures and short sales, is virtually non-existent anymore. You know, as compared to being about 35% of our market about 8-10 years ago. Only 13 active listings for REOs, 12 sold in the month of February. So 12 divided by 13, sales divided by actives gives you the absorption rate, which is the percentage of properties that got absorbed. So 92.3% of the foreclosures in Pinellas County got absorbed in February. That's a 1.1 month supply of inventory. Those 12 that sold at 102% of list price, 1.02 under SP-LP ratio. That's list to sales price ratio. That means that those 12 properties sold at an average of 102% of list price. So the list price was a starting point. That's great information to show buyers that think that they can offer 10% below list price on foreclosures or whatever they think they can offer below list price to help them understand what the current market is. Those homes that sold at 102% of asking price. They sold more than asking price. Next page, short sales. Even more off the board. Only one active right now. There were 3 in January. Only 2 sold in February. 6 sold in January. They sold at 130% of list price, and they took 110 days to get from contract to closing. 200% absorption rate, a half a month supply of inventory. Now the non-distressed is where most of the real estate, most of what we're involved in. Okay, and here we go. In Pinellas County, active listings dropped from January to February by 552 listings, down from 2,096 to 1,544 active listings. That's a 26.3% drop 1 month. Now, last year in February, there were 4,242 listings. So in 1 year, we dropped by almost 2,700 active listings, or 63.6%. Active listing drop in Pinellas County. At the same time, last year we had 1,651 sales. This year we had 1,924 in February. So there's 273 more sales, even though there's 2,700 less listings. That's the epitome of seller's market getting stronger. When listing inventory drops and sales increase, the seller's market is getting stronger because the month supply of inventory is dropping. According to NAR, 0 to 5 month supply of inventory is a seller's market. The closer to 0 it is, the more intense of a seller's market it is. A 5 to 7 month supply of inventory is a balanced or a normal market, and a 7 month or greater supply of inventory is considered a buyer's market. Now, the higher the month supply of inventory, above 7, the more intense of a buyer's market it is. Does that make sense? You understand that concept and you understand what it means to a buyer and a seller and to you. What a buyer's market means to you and the buyer and the seller. What a seller's market means to you and the buyer and the seller. You'll be a great professional. And you'll be a great real estate consultant. And you'll be able to consult your clients to make great decisions. Okay? There's certain behaviors that are incumbent with succeeding in any market. Real estate sells in every market. It's up to you to help your clients win. And it's up to you for you to win. And the more you help your clients win, the more you will win. Does that make sense? So now we can see more evidence of look at the absorption rates. The absorption rate in Pinellas County, this is the first time in Pinellas County, there are more sales than active listings. 1,924 sold, 1,544 active. That's an absorption rate of 124.6%. In January, last month, it was only 78.2%, and last year it was only 38.9%. The month supply dropped from 2.6 last year to 1.3 in January, to now it's less than a 1 month supply of inventory right now in your active market. So what does that mean? Is that alarming? No, there's houses selling, 1,924 of them sold. Go get your unfair share of those 1,924. 1,544 are listed. Go get your unfair share of those 1,544. Properties are still being listed. Properties are still being sold. It's just up to us to get better and better and better to earn the right to have a bigger piece of that pie. Does that make sense? And we're doing it. Many agents are doing it. Okay. Real estate will sell in the best of times, and real estate will sell in the worst of times. It's just a matter of whether you're going to be the one that's selling it. Does that make sense? Awesome. Okay. Let's go to Pasco County. Thanks, Dan. Oh no, this is Pinellas still. Okay, I started doing this a few months ago just to check to see what's going on pending wise. And you can see the last time I did this, I just did this the other day. Last time I did it was in February on the 8th. So the active listings back in February were 2112. We're at 1560 as of the 17th. When you combine distressed and non-distressed, look at the pendings. The pendings again are still significantly more. 3,436 pendings that are awaiting closing. That means March is going to be strong and April is going to be strong. And number of sales went up from January to February, significantly. Okay. You know, my input to you, and you said it too also, Jan, earlier, when you talked about, you know, your resource for seller, for your buyers is not just what's active. Look at all those pending listings. A good percentage of those are going to fall apart. So your buyer can still have a house they want if you stay engaged as an agent with the listing agent of the properties that they had an interest in. And you keep checking in and seeing if that contract is still solid, right? I appreciate you bringing that up, Jan.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to Pasco. Pasco, again, much the same story. 12 active listings for foreclosures, 11 of them sold. A 91.7% absorption rate, a 1.1 month supply. Look at those 11 sold at 105% of list price. So the average sale in February for REO sold 5% above full price. $5 above full price. Okay, short sales in Pasco, again, the incredibly shrinking inventory, nothing really in Pasco as far as short sales. Only one active as well in Pasco as it was in Pinellas. And again, 2 sold in Pasco. They sold at 102% of list price. Took 134 days to get from contract to closing. The absorption rate was 200%, and the month supply is a half month supply of inventory. But let's look at non-distressed, where most of the real estate's being sold. 708 active listings in Pasco. In January, there was 929, so there's 221 less active listings this month than there were last month, or a 23.8% drop. Year over year, last February, there were 2,362 active listings. This February, there's 708. That's 70% less inventory in Pasco right now than there was last year. Meanwhile, sales have gone up. Just to maintain the same number of sales with that dramatic drop in inventory is pretty amazing. But there's still 76 more sales year over year, a 7.5% increase in the middle of that 70% drop of inventory, which means that the absorption rate went up and the month supply dropped even from last year. Again, in Pasco, look at the number of sales as opposed to the number of actives. Significantly more sold properties than active properties. That means the absorption rate's over 100%, actually 154.4%, which is 0.6 month supply of inventory. Last year, it was 43.1% or a 2.3 month supply of inventory. That in itself is a relatively strong seller's market. But we're even a significantly stronger seller's market right now. And what does that mean? You're living it. What it means is fast sale. You know, our properties hit the market, they go under contract quick with multiple offers. So you have to prepare your buyers to compete. You have to prepare your buyers to be as good as a cash buyer. How can they be as good as a cash buyer? You know, I think Van Dyke has a TBD program, to be determined. In other words, the buyers have been through the qualification process. All the verifications are done. Everything is documented. They've gone through underwriting and been approved as a buyer, not just a letter of approval. They're completely approved as a buyer. The only thing that has to pass is the property, appraisal, and condition. Okay, that's the only way that's the only way that a buyer can compete potentially with a cash buyer, as long as they're in a program like that, and you can articulate that to the co-op agent that that they're approved, like I just said. Okay. The other thing is you want to prepare your buyers to be responsive. You know, the more they delay in making a decision, the more they risk more offers coming in and losing the property and seeing somebody else's name on that mailbox when they drive by. Okay, so those are the kind of conversations you have to prepare buyers for what is to come. And you want to have that conversation in a consultation before you take them out to look at a bunch of properties. Because if you have that conversation after you've shown them a bunch of properties, they think you're talking to them with commission breath, trying to force them to act faster than they want to act. Does that make sense? Okay. Next page. Again, look at the difference between pending and active. Three times. There's almost like 3 times more pendings than there are active listings in Pasco County. So inventory dropped, but there's more pendings, and sales went up. Again, month over month in Pasco. Hillsborough, again, much the same. They have a little bit more inventory. As far as REOs, 15 for sale, 21 sold. They sold at 101% of asking price, 140% absorption rate, or a 0.7 month supply of inventory for foreclosures in Hillsborough. Short sales in Hillsborough, 11, 7 sold. They sold at 99% of asking price. They took 129 days to get from contract to close. 63.6% absorption rate, or a 1.6 month supply of inventory. All sellers market data. Now, again, non-distressed property in Hillsborough. Hillsborough. Again, a drop of 22% active listings month over month, a drop of almost 68% year over year. 2,948 less listings this February as there were last February. While sales went up by 13.4%. So with almost 3,000 less listings, there were 251 more sales in February. Mind-boggling, isn't it?
Huge.
So look at the absorption rates. 43.2% last February, 103%, 7.7% in January, 152.3% in February, or a 0.7 month supply of inventory. Very, very strong sellers market. Sellers control the terms. It's important to understand that, because in negotiations, it's not a typical negotiation. Sellers can demand more things. They can demand less contingencies. They can keep throwing fish back until they get the buyer that they want on the terms that they want. They don't have to pick anything. Okay, and your buyers need to understand that they're not in the driver's seat. Okay.
Mhm.
Any other ahas that you had from this data or thoughts? Okay. Again, inventory dropped month over month, but look at the pendings. Pendings went up and the sales went up. So with the pending so high, not only is it a good resource for your buyers potentially to check in on properties that they like, but it's also an indication that sales will be brisk. It will be again record breaking probably for March again. And actually, with COVID hitting last year at this time, the second quarter should be record breaking numbers, much better than last year. But what you want to watch out for is the third or fourth quarter. It's the third or fourth quarter this year. The numbers last year were really high because of the meltdown, right? But we started to recover in the third and fourth quarter. So will we exceed last year's numbers in the third and fourth quarter? And should we get down if we don't? I'm telling you, prepare yourself now. Don't get down if the numbers are more normal during the third and fourth quarter as compared to the numbers last year in the third and fourth quarter. Does that make sense? But for the second quarter, we should kick the second quarter's butt this year. It is more of a normal year than last year. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Ahas, thoughts, questions?
With the absorption rate as high as it is, even if it comes down by 30%, it's still good.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, we're starting at such a high level already that
Yeah.
even a decrease in it, if interest rates should do another tick up, it
Right.
should not hurt the overall picture we're looking at now.
Right, right, exactly, exactly. Let's go to the next page. I think the only thing that will have an impact, well, I mean, not the only thing, but one of the things that can have an impact is if inventory starts increasing suddenly without being absorbed as quickly as it is, it'll be because interest rates have risen more than they're expecting, more than they're expecting. Okay. And if you look back on that, we had a chart there. If you remember that graph that went for the last 4 or 5 years and where the interest rates were. If you look back during the last quarter of 2018, you'll see that the interest rates were the highest on that sheet. Let me see where it is. It's like the second article, it was the first article that we had. Look at the highest rate interest rate was in Q4 2018. It was 4.8%, right? It's the third article in. I think it's page 4 or 5. Yeah, that one. You see, look at what was the interest rate? What does it say there? 4.8, I think. 4.8% in 2018, right? Now let's go back to the page that we were just on. Look at the inventory in the fourth quarter of 2018. And the beginning of 2019. The highest amount on the page, isn't it? Okay. If interest rates go up, properties will sit on the market longer because buyers will have, like they started saying back then, I'm not paying top dollar for a house and paying a higher interest rate. Okay. And that's when it kind of hit the point of no return. Properties were staying on the market longer. If interest rates go up, properties will stay on the market longer. And the absorption rate will drop and the month supply of inventory will increase. All right. Right now, we see record-breaking months of low inventory consistently, month after month after month after month. Again, we have a brand new low of 2,141. Meanwhile, sales have gone up. You scroll down, Tamara, from 1,683 up to 1,863. The overall month supply of inventory is 1.15 with an 87.2% absorption. Okay. Now the next page, and I'm going to spare you from doing this because I have some more stuff I want to cover. You can look through these board data and the graphs and things like that on your own time. I appreciate Denise for providing this information. You can calculate, which we normally do, the month supply and absorption rate from every price point by dividing the number of souls into the actives and vice versa to get the month supply of inventory. Okay. But we see in Pasco County, the month supply is 1. Let's scroll to the last 3 pages so we can get you out of here on time. Okay, always start with Thanksgiving. Be thankful for what you already have and see the miracles that come from this one simple act. Focus on gratitude, guys. Express gratitude. Make your gratitude stronger than your complaints. Find something to be thankful for. Catch people doing something good. Thank them for it. Thank your clients. Send personal notes, handwritten personal notes. Chris, that idea of sending handwritten notes about the buyers that you're looking for is a great idea. It takes more time, but it could generate more opportunities. So I think that's a great idea. Thanks for sharing that. But gratitude is the beginning of healing. Okay, anger and frustration and complaining is all the negative energy and actually creates illness. Okay. So Jim Rohn's words of wisdom are profound. Okay. The next. Fear does not stop death. It stops life. And worrying doesn't take away tomorrow's troubles. It takes away today's peace. How many times have we learned what you focus on expands, right? What you think on becomes bigger. So do you want your worries to become bigger, or do you want your gratitude and blessings to become bigger? Worrying is negative goal setting. Worrying turns that drunk monkey into a drunk gorilla. Sometimes you just got to let it go and let God take care of it. Trust in him. Next, I think I shared this a couple of classes ago, but I know we get different people on the class every month. So I wanted to share this again because it's profound and meaningful. 7 rules of life. Number 1, let it go. Never ruin a good day by thinking about a bad yesterday. Let me share it for realtors. Never ruin a good day by thinking about a bad phone call. Don't let anybody rain on your parade or cause you to have a bad day. That's your choice. You control what you let in. No one has permission to stop you. No one has permission to discourage you. Make your vision and your dream stronger than anything. And you'll continue to move forward. It's about getting back up and moving forward, getting back up and moving forward. Number 2, ignore them. Don't listen to other people. Live a life that's empowering you. Dr. Wayne Dyer, anybody ever hear of Dr. Wayne Dyer? One of the things that he said, one of my favorite things that he always said is, be independent of the good opinion of other people. Be independent of the good opinion of other people. What other people think doesn't matter. What's in your heart? What's in your conscience? What's in your soul? No one can, rain on your parade or deflate your dreams unless you allow them to. Don't give them permission. 3, give it time. Time heals everything. Okay? It might not be now. It might be not yet. No doesn't mean no forever. Okay? It might mean not yet. That's why I don't ever give up. My database is cluttered. I had to get other people to declutter my database because I'm always hopeful that there's a possibility, right? 4, don't compare. The only person you can try to be is the person you were yesterday. Don't compare your insides to other people's outsides because you don't know what cross they're bearing, okay? Truly, you don't. And don't put people on pedestals. Just compete with yourself. The other thing is, I used to always love these people. I used to do it myself, try to be number one, try to be number one, try to be number one. You can't control whether you're number one or not. All you can control is what you do. You can't control what other people do. So you'll have much more peace if you focus on what you can control and let go of what you can't. When we try to have control over things we can't control, it's like that's when we expend a lot of wasted energy and get a lot of frustration. Focus on the things that you can control. Number 5, stay calm. It's okay not to have everything figured out. Know that in time you'll get there. Have faith. Believe in yourself. Number 6, it's on you. Only you are in charge of your happiness. You control your response to every event that happens in your life. You control your outcomes to every event that happens by how you respond to it. And 7, smile. Life is short. Enjoy it while you have it. Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate and love you all. Have a great month.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks. You too.
Take care now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Tamara. You're awesome. Appreciate you, honey. You're the best.
Thanks, Tamara.
Mhm.